Hi guys, welcome to this week's market analysis and trade watch list with Coach Kier. I'm going to take you through 4 trades that I'm looking at this week. You can use this session as either to make these 4 trades your watch list as well, or you could use this to enhance your knowledge in learning the skill of Forex. So I'm just going to start now to share my screen and take you through what it is we're looking at. And the 4 currencies that we're looking at is actually EURUSD, AUDUSD, USDCHF, and gold, right? So what I tend to do, I'm going to actually show you guys on EURUSD how I actually analyze the trades, starting from the monthly time frame, boxing in price. And what boxing in price does is that it allows me to identify the recent uptrend and downtrend of the pair, right? Now, along with this, let me just make this bold so you can see what we want to identify from the monthly is that we want to identify the outer trends, right? We want to identify the outer trends. So by this, what do I mean? Now, the monthly is obviously the Godfather chart, right? And from the monthly, you go down to the weekly, daily, 4-hour, 1-hour, and so on, depending on what type of trader you are. Obviously, if you're a position trader, then you'll be looking at things like, from the daily up, so daily, weekly, monthly. If you are a swing trader, you'll be looking at between the 4-hour time frame and the daily time frame as well. If you're an intraday trader, which means that you're trading within 24 hours, you're basically focusing on the 30-minute and the 1-hour time frame. And if you're a scalper, you're going to put your main focus on the 15 and 5-minute time frame, right? So I hope you guys wrote that down. Now, so starting from the monthly time frame, what I tend to do is, as I mentioned here, is that we want to identify the recent uptrends and downtrends of the pair, right? And what that does is that gives us the outer trends, right? So that gives us the outer trends of this pair. So you can see here how we would have identified the uptrend and how we would have identified the downtrend as well, right? So this is obviously on a bigger scale, right? Now, what we would do from here now is we would note first of all that this is your outer trends. So when we start to actually scale into the pair now, we go into the weekly, daily, 4-hour time frame and so on, we are actually now identifying the inner trends, right? So we will be identifying the inner uptrends and the inner downtrends because we have identified on a grander scale the downtrends and uptrends already by boxing in price here, right? So coming down to the weekly time frame, right? If I come here, you can easily see how this line here first was our monthly time frame. This is our monthly trend line that we draw on the monthly time frame. And here, this is our trend line that we drew on our weekly time frame. And what this suggests is that this is an inner trend line, right? So this is an inner trend. And you could box in price however you want. I know some persons will come here to try to get every single bit of price boxed in, but you can see here how we would have caught this move here. So you can see how this is basically touching our trend line at the moment. And if you wanted to look for a move in this trade, let's say from even a position trader, you would either be looking for one or two things, right? So let me go back to the weekly time frame for a second. you'd be looking out for one or two things. You would either be looking for price to break your current trend line that you would have just drawn, so this trend line here, and come down to our monthly trend line, or you would be looking for price to break the area that it is right now. In other words, bounce off of the trend line. So you'll be looking for price to bounce the trend line and actually come back up to our either to this inner trend line that we've identified or our overall monthly outer trend line. Right? So I hope that makes sense there. So we have two scenarios. Right? I'm just gonna make note of them so that you know. So the two scenarios here is that price can bounce to our inner or outer trend line above, right? Or the next scenario is that price can break and go to our outer trend line. Right, so this is just the two scenarios that I wanted you guys to see before I remove them, so you could actually have a look to understand that we could have two scenarios here at this trend line, right? So we could either have price bouncing and going to our so price could bounce here and actually go back to our inner trend line, or break there and go to our overall outer trend line above, or price can break here and head down to our outer trend line, which is our monthly trend line as well. Right, so that makes sense. So if we go back to our monthly time frame, you could actually see what I mean here. So price can break and come back up to this trend line, or price can bounce and come back up to this trend line, or price can break and come down to this trend line here, right? So two scenarios, and you don't want to actually you don't want to actually you know, try to guess where price is going to go. You want to have confirmation that you know price is going to do what you want it to do for sure, right? Now, obviously we do not control price, but the whole idea of boxing in price from the monthly and actually scaling in is so that we can have an understanding and a view of where it's likely to go. So regardless of if it bounces or it breaks, you will be prepared for either side of the opportunity. Therefore, you can get into the trade at either side, right? So you could either buy or sell the trade depending on the confirmation. Good. So I'm just going to move these now. So you know that we have the two scenarios here. This could either break and come down here or bounce and go up here. All right. So if we wanted to sell this trade, we know that we need to see a candle actually breaking this trend line. And we're not looking for any type of candle. So we're not looking for a wick to actually touch the trend line. We're looking for a strong, solid bodied candle to actually break this trend line, right? But if we really take a look at this trade, at this pair right now, even right here, let's take a channel. We look at the momentum of this pair, right? Coming down here. First of all, I want you guys to understand what I've used here is a parallel channel. Just to show you guys, right? Just to show you guys what I have identified here. All right, so I'll put it like that. Good. So what I've identified here is something called a descending channel, right? So we have a type of descending channel here where you can see how price is basically bouncing in between these two areas, right? So we have a descending channel. And some persons actually with flag formations, you would actually call this a falling wedge, right? And if you study flag formations properly, or at least just print them out and have them at your convenience, right? You will notice that when you have this type of pattern, this type of falling wedge, what we look for is for price then to actually reverse. So we're looking for price now to bounce off of this trend line and make its way back up at least to our inner trend line here, right? So this is the direction that we're looking for price to go, just like identifying price action. All right. Now, so a couple of things that you want to do in a case like this is, first of all, using my parallel channel, it kind of gives you a trend line as well, as you can see. So if we wanted to get into this trade to position trade, you would wait for a strong bodied candle to break this particular trend line at the top before we buy, right? If you want to be on the safer side of things. Now, what we can also do here, right? What we can also do here is we can identify structure. Now, structure in this case would be support or resistance. And it's good to identify structure because then you also look at areas that the trade can actually reverse as well, right? Or break and continue, right? So structure can be in two forms. You can have it based on trend lines. So the same way how we would have identified trends from the monthly time frame. So if you come back here, like all of this, these two trend lines, these two trends that we would have identified, where you see the trade is actually touching the trend line and bouncing or reversing, would also be considered structure for a trend line trader. So persons that actually just trade using trend lines, this will be structure for them, right? Now you also have support and resistance traders, and support and resistance traders are persons who look for a ceiling or a floor, right? So if I do it right here on the monthly time frame, a floor, if you really had to look, you would notice that this here is a type of floor, right? So just quick and easy support and resistance training, you will notice that this here is a type of floor. Why? Because the trade is coming down here and is bouncing and going back up. So we can see how we're getting rejection in this area, right? So we're getting rejection here, we're getting rejection here, and it's going back up, right? We got rejection here, it went back up, it came back down, it tested here. So you can see how we're constantly getting some bounces in this area. So this is a floor, right? It's holding the trade. It's a floor. Now, if we're looking for a type of ceiling, right? So like if we were looking for a ceiling, let's say here, because we have about two types of ceilings here coming up. This is a ceiling, right? This is a miniature ceiling based on the monthly. So you can see price came here, turned around, right? Price broke through here, but when it came back, you can see how we got rejection here. So price tried to break again, reverse, right? Broke through, yes, but when we got here, price tried to break, reverse, right? Price tried to break, reverse, and you can see it here, price tried to break and reverse again. So this is a ceiling, right? So this is a ceiling. So you understand support and resistance from that perspective. And we have support and resistance traders, right? So the whole idea of us understanding support and resistance is because we want to understand where the trade is likely to go, right? Where the trade is likely to go, regardless of if it's in an uptrend or a downtrend, right? If we are going to participate in the trade in a sell or buy, we need to have an idea of where the trade is likely to either pause in its momentum, right? Or we need to identify major areas that can cause a reversal or a continuation, right? So support, you have two types of traders. You have trend line traders, right? And support and resistance traders who basically look for a floor and a ceiling. So we talked about this parallel channel here, right? And we wanted to identify structure. So if we had to look here, you can see how this area here is a type of ceiling, because every time the trade, when we look left, every time the trade comes to this point, it reverses, right? It reverses. So I'm going to keep that particular structure there because that's key. Why? Currently, we're at the trend line, and price, if we're looking for price to come up here, this is a major weekly resistance zone, right? So we want to actually pay attention to this zone, right? Now, so we have that noted. So if price was to break and actually go up to the top, this is about 150 pips to that major reversal zone, right? That ceiling. Good. So now I'm going to continue to box in price, right? So we're now on the 4-hour time frame. So I'm going to box in price, identifying our recent uptrends and downtrends, right? Good. And now we're coming down to the 1-hour time frame, and you can see here now what price is doing, right? So price is at a major reversal zone. So remember, we're looking at structure, and if we identify structure, you can see how this zone here is a reversal zone, all right, as well. So all you're doing is on each time frame, you're looking for your reversal zones. You can use them as your take profit points or just a key area for you to have a confirmation that the trade is actually going to either long or short. Long means that it would rise or it would drop, right? So for example, if I was looking to get into to buy in this trade, it would need to break this zone here as well as our trend line. So you can see that we have trend line here as well as a zone. So it would need to break both of them. I would need to have a solid body candle breaking both of them before I decided to buy, right? Just to be on the safe side of things. But what do we have here? We have a strong body candle coming up here, and then we have what we call a rising wedge, right? So this is a reversal pattern here. Now, from here, once we see this type of pattern, we're looking for the trade to actually drop. But where are we looking for the trade to drop to? So we can have two scenarios. The trade can drop to our trend line, which is where you expect it to go. Again, identifying structure. So if you identify structure here, right? If you identify structure, you would notice that this area is a support and resistance zone, right? So you can see how the trade comes out here and reverse all the time. So when the trade, when you can see this type of support zone, what was resistance at one point in time, you have a solid body candle actually breaking that zone, right? When you are looking now for the trade to drop, which is in this case, so if I'm looking for the trade to drop, I'm looking for it to come back and test this area, because this is the last strongest zone that would have been within this time frame, right? If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, what I'm trying to say is that this is the resistance. This is the ceiling here for when the trade was under here, right? Now, the trade is actually broke above, and we're actually above this zone. So we already have confirmation that the trade is likely to buy because of the momentum of this candle that you can see here. You can see how big the candle is. But right now we have a reversal pattern forming, so which means that we are going to retest, right? We're going to retest a particular zone before we continue to buy. So again, two scenarios can happen here. We can bounce and long, or we can break and short. Although remember from the weekly time frame, we're actually looking for this trade to long, right, to go up. So therefore, this is the type of momentum that we are now starting to get based on this candle that you can see here, right? So the trade is not going to, you have to remember too that the pair is not going to just continue all the way up. It has to break zones and retest them before it continues, right? So you're going to have a break, which is what you got here. So you got a break of this resistance, and then it came back down and it retested it as support, right? So it broke the resistance, came back and tested as support, and now we're forming a reversal pattern here at this resistance area. So we're looking for the trade to come back down and at least test this support, right? Which would then fall in line with our trend line, right? So fall in line with our trend line here that we would have identified. So what we want to see is that we want to see, if you want to catch this short term, you want to wait for price to break TL, right, before sell. Right? So right there, you want to wait for price to break our trend line before we sell. So yes, you can participate in the sell in this trade for about 15, 20 pips, right? But before you do, you need to have price, you need to have a solid body candle actually breaking this trend line before selling, right? And here, right, once price comes down and tests our trend line and also our support, our structure, we want to then wait to see if we see a solid body candle actually breaking this trend line, or we want to see rejection, right? Rejection and starting to move away from this area. So we want to start to move away from this zone and this trend line in order to confirm that it's going to bounce and long, right? Hope that makes sense. So this is my outlook for EURUSD. I am going to actually short this trade once I get my confirmation of it breaking this trend line, and my first take profit is going to be back to this zone, right? And then from here, then I would watch the trade here to see some form of rejection to either long or a solid body candle breaking to short, right? So that's the first one. AUD USD, kind of same scenario as well. I've already bought same price from the monthly time frame, so you can see how I identify the uptrends, I identify the downtrend here, and also from the weekly, I would have done the same as well. Coming into my daily time frame, we could see how I would have identified this recent downtrend. I actually identify structure, so the same thing I thought I actually talked to in EURUSD, I did exactly here. So I identify structure here. So therefore, if I'm looking for this trade to long, then this is the key area that I am looking at before we either decide that it's gonna continue or it's going to actually turn around and sell from there. So trading is simple so long as you try to read the story that is telling you, and all you need is confirmation, right? So coming down to our 4-hour time frame, again, I would have identified a type of channel here. Let me come on in 1 hour so you can see it better. So you can see identify this type of channel here. I would have also identified a support zone. So we still have this type of rejection happening here. Right here, you can see that this looks similarly to the Euro USD. So if I'm looking for this to long-term sell, yes, we are looking for it to long-term, not sell, sorry. We're looking for it to long-term buy. It would need to break TL before buy. Right, so break TL before buy. However, right now this is forming a type of reversal pattern, so this could actually drop from here, and I'm going to watch it at this zone, right? So that's about, let's see how much pips that is. Not a lot. Yeah, 15 to 20 pips again, same as Euro USD. So we're gonna look for it to actually drop first. So, but we need to have the confirmation that it's gonna drop. So what confirmation do we need? Which I mentioned in Euro USD, we need for it to break before sell. Right? So we need those two scenarios happening. So if this is going to continue up right now, we need a solid body candle to break our TL before we buy. Or if it's going to sell and at least do this retest, which is what I project first before it goes up, we need it to break before sell. All right, so that's AUD USD, USDCHF. No, USDCHF. I didn't do it on my monthly time frame, so let me just do that with you right now. So I'm just gonna go through this relatively quickly, right? Because we would have went through the training on Euro USD. So remember identifying recent uptrends and downtrends, just for us to kind of like box in price. So we would basically be telling price, where are you going? Wherever you're going, I am following you. All right. Good. So we talked about, we're on the 4 time frame, and we talked about structure. So first of all, the first structure that you can see here is this, right? So we can see how we have a strong resistance zone, where we had this range happening. You can see how price was actually ranging around this zone for quite a while. So we can see that as our strong resistance zone there. Then you can see how price was basically in between these two areas. So let me just identify here. Right. Price was in between these two areas. We had a break of this range. So we had a break of this range. We got a nice retest, and then we got a continuation down. Now, overall, looking for this here to drop to our trend line, and do the opposite of Euro USD and AUD USD. Whereas we're looking for those to buy, I'm actually looking for this to sell, for obvious reasons as well. If you're into forex trading, you would know that USDCHF goes the opposite direction to Euro USD and so forth. So that would be a good confirmation as well in terms of the direction that it trades, right? Now, let me come down to my 1 hour time frame. Now, on Euro USD and AUD USD, we found a reversal pattern to then give us that that retest. So give us that sell first before we buy. And this is the same thing here that I'm kind of getting from USDCHF, where we could potentially get a short-term buy, right? We could get a short-term buy before we continue to sell, right? So we can actually buy. We're looking for a buy potentially back up to this trend line before we drop, potentially, which would give us about 30 pips or less, potentially, potentially there or to this zone here. But I wouldn't participate in this buy. I would just wait for price to give us the confirmation. So give us that retest first before I get into this trade. I am more interested in selling this. So all I need to see now is price to go back and do the retest to this zone before we sell. Right? So that's the scenario here. So if it doesn't retest, again, the rules follow. If it buys, we know that we're looking for a break of TL before buy, right? Right, so that's what we're looking for, or we will wait for a better setup before they sell. I would like to see a better setup before they sell. But I would really like to get him on the pullback first before, because what you want to do is that you want to anticipate the move and not participate with it. So it's better for you to get into the trade at a discount, right? Than for you to participate with the trade while it's expensive. All right, good. So that's USDCHF, and then the last one here now is gold. So you can see how I would have bought in gold from the monthly time frame, identifying our recent up and down trends, right? And same thing on the weekly. We got this inner trend line here as well. And you can see how it actually looks there. Now, I've identified this trend line. I have a lot of scenarios here. So I've identified this trend line. I've also identified this flag, right? So I can see this because we had a nice impulse and now it's flagging, right? Looking like a reversal pattern, but we'll still wait it out and see. It looks like a reversal pattern to me, and therefore I'd be looking for this to happen for us to come back down to this trend line. Another confirmation for it being a reversal pattern is that when we come into this, to the 1 hour time frame, you can see this huge impulse that we have, which is a strong move to the downside. And now we can see this flag. So you can see how it's actually flagging here. So like I said, on the 4 hour time frame, this looks like a reversal pattern, which would obviously go with AUDUSD and EURUSD that we were speaking about early in this training. So you can see in a case like this, where to me this looks like a rising wedge, right? That is here forming. And therefore I would need the trade to break our trend lines before we sell, right? So in this case, we'll start from the 1 hour time frame. You can see that I've identified this flag. Let me not confuse you guys too much and just make it a parallel channel. Right? Let's make it a parallel channel. Right. So this should be better for you. Let's bring it out a bit. Good. So you can see that. So you can see that ascending channel that we have here. And so, like I said, what I'll be looking for is really a break of this trend line, and subsequently the next trend line as well. So, break of TL before sell. So it's really a nice setup. I'm overall looking for gold to come down to here, right? Overall looking for gold to come down to this trend line overall. But again, you need this ascending channel to be broken first before you could actually start to sell. So you could sell here. This will be the first sell. If we get this next trend line broken here, then you could also look for this sell as well. So you can actually enter another position there. So let me show you guys. So first position, once we get this sell, once we get the trade to actually break this trend line, so this trend line from the ascending channel, so first position there. Once we get another candle, solid body candle actually breaking this channel, this trend line, sorry. So if we get, so let me go through it again because I was confusing myself a bit, right? So if we get a solid body candle breaking this ascending channel, first position, right, into our sell. If we get a solid body candle breaking this trend line, this is the second position that you can add. And then also if we get another solid body candle breaking this trend line, that's your third position. So these can be three positions that you can hold if you wanted to swing this opportunity and actually take it all the way down to this trend line, right? So that's the scenario there that we have with gold. Looks really good. As I said, looks like a reversal pattern to me. Looks like a rising wedge, and therefore we're just looking for a reversal to retest this trend line before we identify what happens next, right? So like I said, you can actually, once you have the confirmation, you can get three positions into this sell to take the whole opportunity right down to this trend line. But remember, you need your confirmations, and your confirmations is that you need a solid body candle breaking these trend lines. All right, guys. So so that's it for today. Four opportunities. Euro USD down to this support zone here, and then we will wait to see what happens from there, if we're going to break or if we're going to bounce and buy, right? And that's on Euro USD. AUD USD, similar situation as well, where we're looking for it to break this trend line and then bounce from here and buy long term, or if it does break, it will need to break our support zone here for the continuation down. So so you can get a short-term sell here as well, but on confirmation. USDCHF, like I said, long-term looking for this to sell. However, it looks like a falling wedge to me, reversal pattern. So we could get an instance where it comes back up here to our resistance zone and test it before it continues its sell move. But again, confirmation. So all you guys need to do is get your confirmation of joining the trend line and waiting for a solid body candle to break your trend line before you participate in the trade. And then finally, gold, where we have a really fantastic opportunity here where we could actually get about 3 positions into this sell on confirmation of a solid body candle actually breaking 1, 2, and 3 trend lines. All right, guys, so just want to thank you guys for joining me today. Hope today was has given you some knowledge with regards to how to identify your trades, how to identify your watch list for the week, what you should be doing in terms of boxing in price from the monthly, and then trying to identify reversal or continuation patterns. And I hope that I have given you a bit of insight into that. Guys, if you're interested in learning more about trading, please drop a comment below this video. Or if you really like this video and you want me to go into even more in depth about entries after identifying your watch list, so if you want me to go more into detail about entries or take profits or different indicators that we can use, please leave your comments below this video, and I'll be happy to continue this series and go into a lot more detail, teaching you guys how to trade more and teaching you guys how to be even more profitable in the market. All right, so thank you for joining me. This is Coach Care. Have a great time.